PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PCN, local stories from our South Shore communities. We have a great show tonight with a look inside Duxbury Library's Art and Technology exhibit, and we meet a Kingston artist with an interactive twist.
PCN stops into the Kirk Annual Foundation Awards, and we visit Plymouth Plantation as they highlight their electric car charging station installation.
We stop into a loud and furry pet adoption event, and Town Talk brings Plymouth's town manager to the set.
We'll start tonight in Duxbury, where esteemed Hank Phillippi Ryan was on hand for an important literary lunch. You may have seen Hank Phillippi Ryan on her investigative reporting segment, Help Me Hank, but PCN met up with her to talk about the other side of this reputable reporter. Hank Phillippi Ryan not only investigates real-life mysteries, she writes mysteries too. And local Duxbury residents got the chance to hear more about her recent work last week at Duxbury Village's Literary Luncheon. PCN stopped in to hear more.
A lot of relationships, which leads to murder. And that is truth be told, which got...
Well, today the beautiful village of Duxbury has invited Hank Phillippi Ryan to come and speak to residents and people in the community about her 3 books, and West Wind's Bookshop is happy to partner with the village, and we're here with the books to sell the books. Hank Phillippi Ryan is amazing. She's an investigative reporter. She's been with a Boston Reporter for years. She's won 30 Emmys, which is incredible, and she's also writes these fiction books. The series is really popular. It's a series with two people, Jane Ryland, who's an investigative reporter, and Jake Brogan, who's a Boston detective. So the series takes place in Boston, so a lot of the scenes are familiar, which people really like.
We do a lot of local author events here at the village. We have a great library, and the villagers really liked her a lot. She gave a lecture today on the books that she has written and a little bit of background about herself and how she got to where she is today.
One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten was to write the kind of books you love to read, and that's what I do. My books are fun, fast-paced mysteries, thrillers set in Boston and New England. So if you like Harlan Coben, Lisa Scottolini, Tess Gerritsen, that kind of can't-put-it-down suspense thriller, that's what these books are. My current book is Truth Be Told, based on foreclosure crisis in Massachusetts and what might really be happening in those empty foreclosed homes. It's also about an unsolved murder that takes place in the Arnold Arboretum, the mysterious Lilac Sunday killer. Boston reporter Jane Ryland is on the trail of a big investigative story. Boston cop Jake Brogan is on the trail of an unsolved crime. And as in all my books, their 2 storylines come together, and a clue that each one has helps the other solve their case. My brand new book, which just got a starred review from Library Journal, is called What You See. And What You See is about all that surveillance video that's out there all the times, all the cameras that see us all the time. And it got me wondering, who looks at all that video? What might be in it? What about the video of you and you and you and me? Who might have that? And what nefarious scheme might they use? And that became What You See. My current book, Truth Be Told, is just out in paperback. It won the Agatha for Best Mystery of the Year. It takes place in Boston and New England in the world of financial manipulation, of mortgage banking, and it's about a reporter who makes stuff up. This is one of those days in New England when you go outside and look at the blue sky and think, I am so lucky to live here. And Duxbury is such the perfect example of glorious New England. I live in Newton, and it was such a treat to come here today to talk to the people at the village in Duxbury. The audience was amazing. There is an energy in the air, and there's a sense of joy and affection that just filled the place. One of the things about being on television is that you're talking to a camera, and you're not quite sure if anyone is listening. To be in a group, as I was here at the Village in Duxbury, and to see the smiles and to see the reaction is a marvelous fuel for me as a reporter and as a crime fiction author.
I don't want you to miss your chance for doing what you always wanted.
Plymouth Plantation had electric car charging stations installed earlier this year. To educate and inform the public, they held an event to celebrate and highlight the environmental and economic benefits of this program. Many notables were on hand, and PCN was there to bring you the story.
The idea of Plymouth becoming an EV destination to reality. This is part of the Mass DEP workplace charging program, and the town of Plymouth about 2.5 years ago started with a pilot project of one charging station, and it worked out so well that we decided to enhance the infrastructure within the town of Plymouth. So we installed a total of 7. The 7 locations, one is behind Cordage Park in North Plymouth. We have 2 in Colony Place. One is by the Sleepies, and one is in front of the Starbucks. So that's in West Plymouth. In the greater downtown area, we have Tracy Motors, Tracy Chevrolet off Samoset Street. We have one that's on Water Street, just north of the East Bay Grill parking lot. We have one, obviously, right back here in Plymouth Plantation. And we have our 7th unit over in Manomet, Mayflower Plaza. Some of the environmental benefits of having electric vehicle charging stations within the town of Plymouth, based on the 2.5 years worth of recorded data, over 2,500 kilograms of greenhouse gases have been averted without going into the atmosphere. Over 750 gallons of gasoline has been saved, and we offer it's an alternative mode of transportation, which also goes along with our public transportation system, which includes the GATRA bus system as well as our commuter rail.
Well, charging stations in particular, I find is important when you're trying to go greater distances. When you're right around your own home, I charge at the house. So when I've taken a trip to, for example, driving down south, the ability to stop along the way, have something to eat, and charge up and keep on going, much like any other gas car would do. Well, certainly it's a lot less expensive running off of electricity, especially if you can do it with solar power or something like that, to do off-hour charging a little less expensively, but also doing it for the emissions, really, and for the ecology. Well, I think that the real thing about electric is people need to test drive one. Once you get behind the wheel and hear how quiet it is, how smooth it drives, and in the case of the Tesla, of course, how much power they have. The performance is phenomenal. I think that becomes a real determining factor as much as anything.
Did you know that Plymouth Plantation is one of 5 electric carports in the town of Plymouth?
Yeah, that's great. It's one of those things. I know you and I are pretty much on the same page as trying to leave a smaller carbon footprint in the world. We don't drive electric cars, maybe because we can't afford them just yet. But
that would be it.
But I think in a few years we will be able to afford them, and I've noticed that even driving around to other towns, like, hey, what is? Oh, that's for charging your electric car.
So it's taking off. It's good. It's building, and someday we'll be in that group.
That'll be us.
That's good.
Before her book was even published, author and illustrator Barbara Ann Mora wanted to give the local kids a fun learning experience tied to its story. She set up a scavenger hunt in the display case at the Kingston Public Library, where kids can locate all of the elements from her book about an unusual turquoise toad.
Go to GBH.com and see what they got for jobs.
Sometimes the best way for kids to learn things is when they're having fun doing it. Hopefully it's so fun they don't even realize they're learning. That seems to be the aim for author and illustrator Barbara Ann Mora, who's using her still unpublished book as a teaching tool for children. On display on the back wall are several cells of illustrations, some colored in, others in black and white. But it's what's on display in the glass case when you walk into the library that will capture the attention of the little ones.
I have created a diorama of all things that are in Toady the Turquoise Toad, and they are items that a lot of them I made myself. They're to get children engaged in the book, to read the book, and find the items. I've made a checklist for them so they can go and check off the things, get learning the words, get introduced to the words, and have a little fun.
I couldn't help myself, so I took a look at the checklist to see what I could find. I did start to notice a theme here, but couldn't quite put my finger on it.
Some of them are rather crazy fun objects. There are tiaras and toads and turtles and triangles and all words T. The whole book is written in alliteration of T's, so it is like a complete, totally experience. So.
Then, of course, there was the color turquoise. There must be a good reason for that.
I chose turquoise because, number one, it's my favorite color, and number two, I wanted Toady to be different than all the other toads, and his turquoiseness makes him different. And this is something that people that are different have to deal with, their differences, and other people have to deal with their differences. So be proud of who you are, and don't be afraid to be different.
At Kingston Public Library, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News. That was one interesting lady, and honestly, she seemed more interested in promoting the learning experience about the book than promoting the book. Like, it probably could have been published by now, but she was more interested.
Yeah, when I set up the story with her, one, she was a super nice lady, but also just explaining to me what was there, and I'm like, that is such a great idea,
yeah, you know, awesome.
to really bring it to life and have the kids interact, and I think I'm going to bring my little one down there.
You should.
Check it out. We recently went to Southerners Marsh Golf Course in Plymouth for the annual Kurt Giesler Foundation Golf Tournament and Youth Achievement Awards. Of course, there was golf, but there was also a painting class for those who may not be as gifted with their irons and drivers. The main focus of the tourney remains the award recipients, their creativity and achievement. We met up with the organization's spokesperson to give us some background.
Today is the third annual event, or premier event, for the Kirk Giesler Foundation for Youth Achievement here at Southerners Marsh here in Plymouth. Today's event is our annual event that we raise the most money for our awards that we provide over the course of the year. Over the course of the year, we open up award submission time periods. So we give out 2 awards, an Ambition Grant and Prize for Achievement. An Ambition Grant is one where someone comes to us from the ages between 12 and 22, and they have an idea for either something that they're interested in or a passion to pursue. It can be charitable, it can be entrepreneurial, but we want to make sure that they're self-directed projects that can be well-funded from our foundation. Today we're going to actually, under the tent here at Southerners Marsh, we are actually going to see some of our award recipients from this year, and also past recipients. Some of our past recipients have actually come back to help support and volunteer today's event. You'll walk through and you'll see Liam Cross. He's actually working on a project right now to build a prosthetic hand. Kevin Johnson from Plymouth, he's actually working on a new wireless technology that allows lighting for theaters. And then Katie Curran, she's someone from our Prize for Achievement that she received it for her project Next Generation. Today's annual event really is around our golf tournament and paint party, self-instructed paint party. Our golf tournament, we have foursomes. It's a shotgun start that we have people who have come from last year, and then we also have some new people joining us for the first time this year. Last year, we had great feedback from our paint party that we actually are offering something other than the golf tournament, which is an instructor-led paint party by a company called Drink and Dabble, and it actually walks you through making a specific painting that we chose. And this year, it's a beautiful sunset painting. Last year was a sunrise, so we thought this year would be a great sunset. I'm hoping that we can really spread the message of what Kurt was all about. Kurt was a Plymouth resident and an educator. He really believed in the passion of all the students, individuals between ages of 12 and 22. He really believed that those folks have the ability and passion to drive self-directed projects, something that he really encouraged his own students when he was an educator to really pursue and to really make sure that they are also impacting the community.
Over the past few years, we've heard a lot about STEM programs for children and young adults, which includes science, technology, engineering, and math. We're also now hearing about STEAM programs, which include all of the above plus art. The Duxbury Free Library is staying ahead of the curve with a program that allowed kids to combine art and technology over the summer. Their project now is on display in its upper level. Now there's a noise you may not associate with the inside of a library, but here in the upper level at the Duxbury Free Library, it's a sound that you'll get used to pretty quickly. It's all part of the library's marriage of art and technology, and is known as an Arduino Garden wall. It's named after the open source computer software company that designs and manufactures microcontroller-based kits for building digital devices and interactive objects that can sense and control the physical world. Sound confusing? Okay, see these boxes on the back here? They power what you see on the wall here. These things on the wall have sensors that are triggered by human movement.
The whole idea was to make something interactive. We wanted to do something where the wall could react to you and do different things and have motion and sound and things like that. And so the first thing we did was taught the kids how to do some basic programming with that. And then then the rest of the summer was pretty much problem solving, figuring out how to put it all together, helping them with their code, making sure that the spider goes down the same amount that it goes up so that it doesn't eventually run out, and things like that.
With the technology in place, it was now time to add some art to it. Local artist Sally Dean Mello offered up her services and showed the kids how to grid out the artwork. That's where you go from a small design to a much larger one.
When I gave her the idea about a garden with animals and things that we can 3D print things to put on it, she kind of went really into her artistic mode and did a beautiful, beautiful job of designing a garden that you could add things to.
Thanks to some grants from the American Library Association, the library now had 3 different 3D printers at their disposal to create much of the artwork. After months of collaborating, the marriage between art and technology was complete.
Sometimes we call it STEAM because it's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And I think art is so important because it puts some soul into it, and not just, for people who are afraid of technology or whatever like that. It puts soul into it for everybody.
If you haven't seen it yet, the Arduino Garden wall will be here at the top of the stairs on the upper level until the end of September. But if you don't make it by then, they're not taking it down completely, they're just relocating it to the Digital Media Lab.
So it'll be up semi-permanently, we hope. Not always plugged in. So we don't want to disturb people who are studying.
At Duxbury Free Library, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
I'm just so impressed with these libraries. I mean, they're really stepping up where kids are so busy with their phones and everything, and I think they have to come up with something to grab their attention besides just here's a row of books. They're really leading everybody with these programs. It's
so
wonderful.
Basically, the stuff that they see on their phones, they're making that much bigger so kids can actually kind of touch it. The stuff that we used to do when we were kids. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I love going to the libraries now because I'll admit I wasn't the best student as a kid, so I hardly ever went to the library. And now when I go, I feel like they're so excited to see me. So I guess it's never too late. So.
Well, I just think it's great, and I love these new technology. And of course, Barbara's story earlier.
Yeah,
they're just really changing it up, and I think that's really wise.
Yeah, it's smart.
Keep it going. Beer and dogs. No, it's not a country song. It's a local business teaming up with a local nonprofit to help out man's best friend. PCN stopped by Yappy Hour at the craft beer cellar in downtown Plymouth to meet the organizers behind this creative, charitable venture.
Tonight's event is the second Yappy Hour that that Tatum at the craft beer cellar has had. She would love to make this a monthly event, and so would we. It's a chance for people in the community to bring their animals in, get to know her business, and also get to know our organization, which is really important in order for us to continue.
We've actually rescued our dog. He's our shop dog. His name is Cooper, and we wanted to find a way that we could creatively give back to the local shelter and the community that we're in. So it's a dog-friendly beer or cider tasting. We have companies that come in and do samples. We have local vendors. We bring in people who will do local items for sale with some of the proceeds to go to the animal shelter.
Friends of the Plymouth Pound started in 1984 with just a handful of volunteers helping out at the animal shelter. We are no longer affiliated with the animal shelter, but we are still a private humane society, and we do have an adoption center at the Kingston Collection in Kingston, Mass. For cats, and we also have a dog adoption program where our volunteers will foster the dogs dogs, get to know them, and then find them homes. Tonight she has a beer tasting for humans, and we also have our friends from Southpaw's Doggy Daycare in Pembroke doing nail clips and ear cleanings for the dogs, and we have several other vendors here that are that have their products available or introducing their products to people who may not know what they have for the animals locally. So it's a lot of fun. We're hoping, if we do this monthly, that we can turn it into an event like at Christmas, doing pet photos with Santa and things like that.
Our whole point is, if we're in this community, we have to be 100% invested in the community, which means that we do a fundraiser once a month. Generally it's for the animal shelter. We're also working to do another one in November for a different agency, and it's about being a partner in the community and being a good neighbor.
And now we have our Town Talk segment, and with Melissa Origi, Plymouth Town Manager. Welcome.
Thank you.
To the set. I think this is the first time we've been together on the show. Which
go easy
really,
on me.
I will. It really amazes me. I know we have a fall town meeting coming up in Plymouth, and we have a couple public safety study and something on the North Plymouth Fire Station. Can you tell me more?
Sure, we do. The public safety study, I've decided to start with the police department, and what we're looking at is overall health and wellness of the employees. And what I mean by that is, are there symptoms that are causing fatigue? Is the department understaffed? We have quite a few cases lately where employees are citing something like post-traumatic stress disorder, something affecting their stress level in the workplace, and that's actually causing them to no longer be capable of coming to work. And I think we need to globally look at that.
Is it something on the personal side that affects it, or is it something that is on the job
Right.
stress?
If it was the personal side, I think that there are things that we can do, employee assistance programs, but this is actually being related directly to their work for the town of Plymouth. And I think it's something that you're going to see in other communities, because I was at a public works conference and I heard them talking about employee fatigue in the public works area. Now, it was more physical fatigue based on plowing operations in the winter, but then the conversation went further and they started to talk about how they're perceived by the public, how things like constantly being on camera or people having their phones out, it's exhausting them from an emotional perspective as well. So we've decided to start in the police department because that's where we're receiving the most claims, almost like a workers' comp claim, a little bit different. We're receiving the most notices about this kind of syndrome, if you will. And that's one of the things I'd like to look at, because it's going to be a big problem. If you start to have employees that go out on disability retirements, let's say, over psychological issues or stress-related issues, where does that stop, and how does it affect your long-term pension system? I need some help with that.
Right, that's a huge study. And then you're going to take it further than that?
I think eventually we need to see the results of that, and actually who can help us with that. I mean, who do we get together to actually tackle? When I speak to the other town managers in the community, they haven't really looked at this yet in our surrounding communities. So we may be able to help this throughout the whole South Shore.
That sounds very proactive.
I hope so. I think something needs to be done. We can't have employees that come to work and actually think their employer or their job itself made them no longer capable of working. Yes. Okay. And with the fire department, I think many of you know the condition of the North Plymouth Fire Station, a little dilapidated, but mostly it's old. It was built in the early 1900s. I think the fire chief always says for, horse and carriage kind of operations. We've updated it through the years, but it's small. There's no room for expansion. We actually have to order in special equipment with the side mirrors are very tight in order to get it into the building. So it's time to, with North Plymouth growing, with the cottage development coming online, it's time to make a change.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about some money. There's money for Town Hall. There's money for the T-Wharf.
Yes, I'll take those in a better order. Okay. So with the T-Wharf, we've been trying to get the T-Wharf done for years. David Gould has been really amazing about applying for and receiving money at the state and the federal level. However, before Governor Patrick left office, we had been assured that we had the remaining of the funds to do the T-Wharf, and then with the 9C cuts, it was kind of swept out from under us really quickly. So the town meeting has already committed $1.25 million towards this $4 million T-Wharf project. We're asking for another $750,000 from the town. The reason for that is if we have $2 million, We only need $2 million in grants, so it's a one-for-one match, which we know will be viewed very favorably. The Seaport Council is back up and running under the new governor. Lieutenant Governor chairs that, so we think they'll be very receptive and have been in their visits to Plymouth on that project, but their cap is $1 million. So we're going to have to look at some other sources.
What are some of the things, if you can talk about, that they're going to do with this money down on the wharf?
Oh, well, we're going to knock down the T-wharf that's there now that you really can't go out on anymore, that we've moved the gas tanks off of. That'll be completely removed. We will have a whole new entrance that goes out on the pier, curves all the way around. It's going to be better for the lobstermen, for the fishermen, better for our visitors to walk out on it and enjoy it.
Okay, that's wonderful. And did you want to touch on Town Hall? We got about a minute left or so.
We need an additional $2.776 million for the new Town Hall. That's difficult to ask for because we understood how much faith the town meeting and the town had in us to support the new Town Hall project in the heart of the downtown and restoring the 1820. But construction costs have risen more significantly than we would have expected. Look at all the construction that's going on everywhere. In addition, there was much more demolition work than we could have anticipated, and that involves some hazardous material because that Burton and Cornish School years ago, when they knocked those down, I think in the 1960s, they just buried the basements. So that's all contaminated and it's expensive.
You have to get rid of that.
We do.
Obviously. Okay. I think that's it we have for now, but let's, Saturday, October 17th?
Town meeting.
Okay, and then if it doesn't finish, go on to the 18th?
We go into Monday night and Tuesday night and every night until we get our business done. I do anticipate that it will probably be only a 2-session town meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming on as always, and we'll have you back in a couple months and we'll talk about some winter stuff.
Very good.
Sound good? Thanks for watching another episode with Your Local Stories. We are booking now for the holidays and are looking for stories about people, organizations, and businesses that have the giving spirit. Email kim@pactv.org, which is me, or fill out a story submission form at pactv.org. Be sure to follow us on social media for previews, updates, and full episode links, or catch us on YouTube. PACTV's website also has links to all our stories. We'll see you next week for more PACTV community news.